Hello and welcome to Raghav's Take. Today I'm going to start with a quiz. List in descending order of importance the 5 key things or people or regulations that President Trump has outlawed in his tumultuous second term. The most likely answer from most people is going to be number 1, trade with China. Number 2, illegal immigrants. Number 3, pro-Palestine foreign students. Number 4, DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion policies. And number 5, paper straws and slow water showers. He just hates those. Hardly anybody, even among Trump's stiffest critics, would include the digital dollar in this list. Because in the sort of mad hullabaloo of, launching trade wars, serenading Putin and tongue-lashing Zelensky, bombing Houthis, shaming LGBTQs, deporting students, banishing innocent residents to El Salvadorian prisons, most people missed Executive Order 14178. What does it say? It prohibits federal agencies from developing, issuing or promoting any form of CBDC. That's central bank digital currency, and that's popularly in America called the digital dollar. Whack! With one stroke of his skyscraper signature, Trump aborted the most critical evolution of the dollar as a 21st century global currency. The ostensible reason given is that digital dollars would infringe upon the privacy of individuals, since the US Fed would have unconscionable surveillance powers. They would know exactly who is transacting what. There is, I concede, there is a sliver of apprehension here, but equally there are a bunch of anonymizing and masking algorithms being developed which could allay privacy fears. So as with the tariff tantrum, the real intent behind and the impact of this crazy ban on digital dollars is utterly unfathomable. Why am I calling this move crazy? Because it's clear that most cross-border transactions will shift from the current SWIFT-led international clearing system. It's hardly SWIFT because it's got very high costs, it's got delays, it's got frictional movements. So all of that will shift to a blockchain-backed public ledger of crypto wallets and crypto accounts. Look at what happens today. If A, who's an American buyer, were to pay B, who's an Indian seller, via the SWIFT system, it could take 2 or 3 days as the money travels from one jurisdiction to another, from one intermediary bank to another. And in this process, it incurs several basis points in costs and commissions. So it's very expensive. However, with digital currencies, the same payment from A to B, provided both have wallets or accounts on a blockchain, that can be done in under 5 seconds with virtually zero costs. So you really don't have to be a genius to infer that SWIFT's demise is inevitable as digital currencies and blockchain platforms, they mature under a rapidly evolving regulatory architecture. Frankly, it's an unstoppable phenomenon. So now let's try and figure out Trump's mysterious ban. Having killed a US Fed-controlled digital dollar, Trump wants stablecoins to take over. Stablecoins are crypto tokens which have, the fiat dollar, the regular greenback that you and I use. It's got the common greenback as the underlying asset. So they are a sort of digital proxy for the dollar. However, stable coins are created by several private, not government, private issuers. For example, Tether and USD Coin. So they are not liability backed by the US Fed. So the first concern for any buyer of stable coins is trust in the issuer. its audit standards and how robust its underlying assets are. What if a big oil trader were to buy $10 billion worth of stablecoins to settle a purchase? But the issuer of stablecoins were to hit a liquidity crisis, or get crippled by a cyber attack, or worse, simply go bust. Any buyer obviously would think a million times before risking $10 billion, in such a cavalier manner. All right, just humor me. Just humor me for a minute and put this trust issue aside. Imagine that our oil trader does go ahead. He does go ahead, gets the courage, and buys $10 billion worth of stablecoins, which are now transferred to the oil seller's crypto account. Now, the seller who's got these $10 billion in stablecoins, he will have to reconvert these stablecoins into fiat dollars, because that's the only way he can buy US Treasury bonds. They are his safe haven investment. So that's the only way he can buy them. Isn't this such a cumbersome, self-defeating process? What will happen is that over time, driven by the need for efficiency, people will say, I will raise an invoice directly in stablecoins. Why do I have to go through this circuitous route? And then, in the second instance, investors will say, allow me to use stablecoins directly to buy US treasuries. Why do I need to reconvert? What a cumbersome thing. So effectively, stablecoins issued by private entities, I'll underline this, private entities, will usurp the place of a global dollar. And the greenback, the one that you and I use every day, that'll just become a purely domestic currency, almost like a country bumpkin. In such a dystopian future, the US Fed will lose control over the dollar's global transactions. And that's an outcome that the US Fed cannot permit. No way, cannot permit. So, the US Fed will push new regulations, sequestering stable coins and their reserve assets within US custody. Effectively sort of nationalizing stable coins. So in the end, this very inelegant, tortuous process will inflict a highly fragmented, inefficient system of nationalized stable coins, performing the role of the, now aborted US Fed-backed digital dollar. Doesn't that beg the obvious question? Why ban digital dollars if you are destined to create a poor, struggling proxy, which is what I've just described, the nationalized stablecoin? It's a question I don't have an answer to. It's a question only President Trump can answer. But while we await an answer, the digital yuan, China's, and the digital euro from Europe, they are saddling up to dominate the digital currency battlefield of the 21st century. You've got to watch that space. This was Raghav's take today.